Record this. I'm recording. Record it. There we go. All right.
So I found something in Orlando
Oh,
that looks pretty promising. It's really weird. I spoke to Zane today about it for about an hour because they it got sold twice in 2020. Like I have it written down. 2021 they sold it for 2.6, and then 2022 they sold it for 1.3, and now they're asking for 7.4. So um
interesting.
I mean, it's already at an A cap, sitting at an A cap, so that was pretty exciting. I filled out the due diligence, so I've got stuff sent over to the broker. Hopefully, he can get back to me pretty soon. Um, and I'm just now I'm kind of like waiting. I spoke to Zane, and he kind of pumped me up. He's like, "Yeah, I think this still looks good." And like we looked over everything that they had on the internet. So I did ask this, and I kind of just want to know in general, like in doing the due diligence for the debt info, the existing debt is the debt that we're assuming they're carrying, correct?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. So we would use the amortization table that you guys provided. Okay, so I put that number in, but then pretty much everything from there is everything that shows on the assumption stuff from what we're pulling out, correct?
No, that's correct. That's exactly correct.
Okay.
Do you
So
have any understanding of how or why the situation is what it is? Like that's so unique. I mean, what's the broker like? What's the history of the property? That's unique.
Well, so the history of the property is it was built in 1990, and Greyhound was the original owner and tenant. So
Okay.
Greyhound sold it to a company for the 2.6. And soon after that, that company, I don't know if they went under, I don't know what happened. Greyhound still continues to be the tenant. They have a lease through 2029, and it's a triple net. And then they sold it, the company sold it for the loss at 1.1. So
Huh.
we brought up, I shared my screen with Zane, and I'm like, I'm reading it right, correct? And so I'm going to see what my broker says, and then hopefully we can talk to whoever and kind of how would I go about asking like,
Well,
why'd you buy it for?
first, it sounds like you've got like something tied up. Like I would say this, it's not uncommon, number one, that somebody in the history of the world has ever lost money in real estate, right? So
Right.
like that's not uncommon that somebody unfortunately made a bet and they lost that bet, you know. So the next step would be is getting your eyes on the lease, figuring out, you know, where what, you know, the tenant, like you said, Greyhound is on that, figuring out what the guarantees of that lease are, learning more about the length of that lease, what the options are, what is the market rent in the area. I think Zane, if you'd like to go further or give your opinion too, but I look at the most important piece when underwriting a deal is understanding the market rent per foot. If you can get a really strong understanding of what the market rent per foot is, you are going to have the best ability to underwrite a deal based upon the square footage. So meaning and also the rent per foot will vary, right? If you're in like one location, let me give you an example of Birmingham, which might not be where you are in Florida, Ariana, but like and Delesio knows this, Zane knows this. If you're in Birmingham and you're in Mountain Brook, the rent per foot might be $40 a square foot. If you're in Bessemer, it might be $5 a square foot, right? There's a huge discrepancy and a huge deviation off of what the actual market rent per foot is based upon the location of the property. So, what I would recommend doing is getting with that broker and getting an understanding of a very specific, like almost like you're shooting a rifle, not a shotgun, and figuring out what is the actual market rent per foot in that zip code. Because it's going to be different in a zip code that's 10 miles away. It's or
Yeah.
even 10 minutes away. So if you can discover what that rent per foot is, and you can intrinsically understand what that value is. It's going to help you underwrite and then most importantly make an offer on that building based upon the market rent, because you just don't want to make an offer on a property where you think the rent is $9 a foot, and this Greyhound company could be doing whatever they're doing, and then they happen to leave, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, whatever. But then the real market rent is only $7 a foot, and then the value of the building is $1 million less than what you purchased it for. You know, so getting an understanding of what the market rent per foot is, and an understanding in that like specific zip code in that particular area is gonna give you the best ability to underwrite real estate, and then give you the opportunity to make a great offer based upon that information. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Could we assume, I mean, they've given us the NOI. I know obviously the square footage of the property. Um,
I
so
would
with
say
the
this.
performance telling me it's 20.41, but I would have to ask that so they can really pinpoint it, correct?
Yeah. I mean, okay, if it's $24 a foot, whatever the number is that they're currently paying, again, that's great and high. That's great. It's awesome. You underwrite that deal based upon the existing cash flow, but it's also another piece that you need to underwrite based upon the market rent per foot. I mean, it is so valuable because the reason I say that is imagine that they're paying Greyhound is paying $25 a foot, triple net, right? And it's a great deal on paper, right? But what happens if Greyhound in 3 years leaves and the market rent per foot is really like $10 a foot? And then you have to go release the space. Not only have to pay leasing commissions, but then you also have discounted your rent by 68%,
Ah,
70%.
sure.
And then you're in a pinch because now, if you have any debt on the building, then you can't even service debt at that point. You're underwater. Then you got to foreclose. It's a whole song and dance. So my question would be is getting an understanding of the market rent per foot.
Got it.
That will give you. And now look, maybe the market rent per foot, Ariana, is $28 a foot, right? And
Yeah,
Greyhound is underneath what the market is. Well, then you got a good deal. But it's understanding what the actual intrinsic market rent per foot is that will allow you to really underwrite what the actual intrinsic value of rent is, which will again give you the most valuable piece, which is the value of the building.
perfect. Okay, that's one of the questions I asked. So I just shot that email out to my broker.
Zane, you got an opinion on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, on this particular deal, Ariana, don't they have a lease that's out for another what?
2029.
Okay. So, and then you don't know anything about the options yet, still?
I don't know any of the options.
Okay.
That's the
But
question
that's
I
that's
asked. I
okay.
basically went down your due diligence, like what we spoke about, and
Yeah.
asked my broker all of this stuff.
Yeah.
That is okay. That is okay. The lease and the options are okay. And that's not a bad thing. I would my next step for you, Ariana, if there was a gun to my head, I would be like, what is the intrinsic value of rent in that area?
Okay.
Talk to a couple of people, talk to a couple of bankers. Don't hesitate to talk to a couple of bankers because they know the game too. They lend money around town, if they're like, ooh, yeah, we got a couple of guys that borrow money from us and they pay us, this amount a month a foot, ooh, that might be overpriced, or oh man, you got a good deal right there, that kind of thing. Get
Okay.
many people's opinion and then shuffle the deck and figure out what you come to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
My thought, I guess. So just an opinion.
And then the last part on that, Ariana, from our conversation was the actual offer that we're intending on making. So I think, didn't we determine that it was best to maybe make two offers on this and do like the one kind of like the traditional financing and one with seller financing? Is that what we determined?
Yeah, we had discussed it, but not like the full details.
Hmm.
So just with you looking at the numbers and like you're the guru in it, you're like, oh, we should probably do two deals. I'm like, okay,
I mean,
you coach
yeah.
me.
I mean, I don't know. I just feel like if they have that much equity, right? If like, or
Right.
if they have that much profit, they're gonna maybe be okay with taking less up front in order to just keep some in the deal and then maybe go 1031 the rest or whatever, however that would work for them, or invest that into something else. But um, I don't know. I think it'd be a good move for them to do seller financing if they're gonna make like a $5 or $6 million profit on this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to see what the broker finds out, and then that's what I'll probably do tomorrow. Then is call bankers in it's in Orlando, so that's 3 hours from me, which isn't a big deal. But yeah, it was exciting just to see these numbers that they're the way they're supposed to look, I guess.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There's an opportunity now, and when you see an opportunity, it gets you kind of excited and motivated. You're like, okay, wait a minute, there's action here, and so
Yeah,
as long as you've got like the right, fundamentals underneath it, then it makes sense to continue to pursue it.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's great news. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. This is great. 100%. What's going on here? I see Brian Villanueva. Brian, I've been following your awesome new social page, man. You might be the greatest golfer on social media now, man.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Uh,
That's awesome, dude. I love it. Keep it going.
I'm trying. It
That's
can be
great.
a little demoralizing because it's tough, man. It's very tough.
Don't quit. Don't quit. I'm telling you, don't stop. It will keep playing the game. Just stay in it positively, keep moving it forward, that whole thing.
I'm trying. I got a good video to post today, so we'll see. My son does all the editing for me, so it's
I'll
pretty
be
cool.
I'll be watching. I'll be watching that. You guys, do you have anything that's moving in your neck of the woods over there?
I do. I need to work through some of it with Zane here.
Have
Get
you have
going.
you uploaded the new, has everybody also uploaded the new pro forma and everything, like the 3.0 that Zane posted out? We'll make
I
sure
am.
everybody
I'm using
copy
that.
of that.
I'm
Okay, good.
using. I have a deal here. Looks like maybe it's a potential. I've been working with the broker on, been trying to establish a relationship with a guy. And that's going all right. So he brought me this deal. Um, so I'm gonna share this sheet and then maybe I'll schedule some time with Zane to go through it.
Yeah. Anytime, just reach
Yeah.
out, let me know.
All
Yeah,
right.
please do that. When that works, I mean, um, anytime anybody brings something to Zane or I, Zane will immediately forward to me. Him and I will get on a call and we'll like try and find ways to give you the best feedback that we can. So whenever that time works, like please don't hesitate to send that.
Perfect.
All right, well, great. Well, Clayton, I see Matt, I see Greg, I see Richard's on here. Who else is working on something that we can work on tonight? What's going on? I can give you my situation real quick. I can be brief. Connor and I went on we went to Connor had he has a building under contract that he's had under contract for a couple of weeks, and we went and actually met with the seller last Thursday. Seller's like, we're not, it's really comical and it's bizarre, but he goes, I'll spare you guys all the details, but basically he has a office in this building. He's been working for this company. They just signed a new 3-year lease, the whole thing. And he's just a little emotional. He's an older guy. He's about to retire, the whole thing. And we said, look, man, look, you got to leave money in the deal. That's what we really initially agreed upon. He didn't want to leave money in the deal. Him and his wife are just an older couple. They just wanted their money, whatever. And we said, look, dude, if you don't want to do it, not in an arrogant sense, but if you don't want to do it, then no big deal. Then you owe us. Our legally binding agreement basically says that well, we can sue you for non-performance essentially. And but we let him out like the whole thing. Well, the broker, of course, is like losing sleep because he's about to lose his commission and the whole thing. Well, he pulled a rabbit out of a hat. He became a magician. I called him on Monday first and I said, look, guy, he wasn't involved. He didn't want to do it. Him and his wife were over it. I said, send a mutual release. Well, the broker, again, like I said, pulled a rabbit out of his hat and said, hey, the deal's back on. And basically the consensus on this deal is we're buying it at a 11 cap rate. It's not a crazy building. There's two properties. It's about an acre and a half of property. And what I told the seller, this is maybe an opportunity for everybody to think about it. And I could probably pull this up, but I don't have it on my computer. But just so everyone can think about it, what we're doing is it is an electrician training and plumbing training business that is there. So someone will pay tuition to go and learn how to become a full service electrician or plumber or whatever it is, right? They're next door neighbors to a dealer, like an auto mechanic or whatever. So I did the math, or not I was just like, well, wait a minute. I might not be in the business of wanting to, have this as my tenant. So what I suggested is, what if I go and paint the facility, go and re-fence the property, seal and stripe the parking lot, give it a facelift, offer the adjacent car dealership owner the ability to rent some land. There's like an acre and a half of land, just like dirt, like just laying there. I mean, it's graveled, it's fenced, it's nice. You guys can rent that space for a couple $1,000 a month. And if there's somebody else that might want to co-tenant the space, which we have a couple offers on that, we're essentially basically turning the rent from like $3,200 a month up to almost $7,000 a month, triple net. And so my goal would be is like, just go and spend a couple of dollars, paint it, fence it, gravel it, secure it, seal it, stripe it, increase the rents, increase the lease on the, increase the years on the lease, and then pop that thing at the same, rent per foot and see what would, end up happening. So, I guess I say all that. The seller at the time came across as not motivated, but now, again, however the broker again became a magician, essentially said that the guy is back on board because I told him he's going to take a second position behind the bank. So I don't know what the story is, but to come full circle, the game is dealing with somebody that's motivated and wants to sell. And if they're taking a second position, let me just be very, very clear, as you guys know, he's asking me to personally guarantee a second position, which I have no problem doing because, again, between me, you, and the fly on the wall and everybody here, a second position guarantee has zero weight. There is zero claim to anything. When you're behind a bank, so let me just say this to everybody. If you think somebody's going to tell you, someone's asking you to personally guarantee a second position mortgage, just know that you're in pole position. It is irrelevant because they're behind somebody else. It is a guarantee, is a handshake between you and the seller. So that's where it comes down to, your agreement and the relationship that you've built with the seller, which is what we focus on. Zane, you'd agree with that, like how much we focus on just dealing with the seller, focusing on building rapport. So I guess I could probably be better at dealing with the rapport of dealing with this seller, but yeah, I don't know how it worked out. He's back on apparently. So I say all that. If you are working a deal with somebody, focus on the rapport with the seller so then they don't get squirky and squirrely at the very end when things are about to really transact. So just my opinion, I guess. Zane, you got a thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's awesome. How much are the sellers leaving in the deal?
35%.
Damn, and so I bet the bank's stoked about that one.
Yeah. So it's almost funny because, this is just one of the banks that I run with, and he actually texted me this morning because we were supposed to get beers this afternoon, which is just it was just a lot of fun because, the bankers become friends of mine, right? Just same as like, that's the name of the game. We become buddies. And he goes, hey, what's the latest with this deal? And I'm like, man, it's off. And then that broker calls me back and I'm like, well, I guess the deal's back on. He's like, well, just let me know. He's like, let me know when it was so casual. It's like, just let me know when closing is. Like, Just let me know when the closing is. And is, that's the relationship that we've developed. And it also too, it's not a huge deal. He's lending me like 250 grand. So end of the day, that's not saying that it's big or small money, but knowing that you can have relationships with a lender where it's a text message and it's a couple of cold beers as a handshake deal. That's where it can get kind of cool. So just an opinion, I guess.
Yeah, that's great. And so you said that the fence, you said that there was already a fence back there, but you're going to refence it? Was it like not up to
There's a
par?
fence already back there, but what we're gonna do, which I would recommend doing again, because Connor's on this deal as well. But actually, I'll just tell him what to do because this is also my deal if I'm on it. Is fence the thing off and allow another company to go and park their vehicles or their tractor trailers or whatever it is on the site that doesn't interfere with the other businesses that are there.
I see.
And just give it a facelift too. Just paint. I mean, I just painted a building like last week, and it gives it a facelift. I've already had like two other businesses look at it because I freaking painted it. It's just crazy how much paint can improve someone's opinion of a facility. It's remarkable, really. Paint can change the game if you see a facility that looks like shit, throw some paint on there, it will improve it immediately, in my opinion, in some of our tenants' opinion. It's just thought. Who else? What's going on in everyone else's world?
I have a little deal that I'm working on. I'm not sure how relevant it is, but I mean it's just in the very, very beginning stages pretty much, but it's a vacant deal over in Chicago of all places. We offered a contingent due diligence period. The sellers came back and wanted to know more about like who we are as buyers. So they sent me a big long list of like questions that they had like about me as a buyer, including like uh, proof of funds, which obviously I know the answer to that and the reasoning why we don't show proof of funds. Um, but also a bunch of stuff like, will you be transparent about the the debt that you're going to be acquiring and like the process of going and acquiring that debt throughout the due diligence period? Will you be coming in doing a walkthrough, like a physical walkthrough of the property as well, at some point during the due diligence period? And I just kind of answered all the questions, but I'm not sure how much I want to like try to, I guess, what's the word, bend to their questioning or like kind of, I guess, submit to what they're trying to get me to do to get answer all their questions. They asked what kinds of who my attorney was, who my lender was, like all that type of stuff. So what do you think about that? Like just them asking all these questions because we're kind of giving them a compromise on this deal, right? Like they could find an owner user and or potentially find an owner user ideally who would pay this big giant price that they're asking for it, or they could sell it to an investor for a much lower price. So what do you think about like kind of giving them more information in exchange for taking on this compromise of a deal?
All right, I got two opinions already.
Okay.
When they're asking all these questions on a range of 10 to 1 or 1 to 10, what is their motivation?
That's a good question. And I think if they're willing to come back and ask questions like this and write out questions that are involved, right? Like they've never seen an offer like this because we just pulled it out of our ass and made it up like this other month, right? So I think they have somewhat of motivation. I would give it maybe a average 5 or 6. Otherwise, they might just be like, no, not interested. Like, we don't want to do some kind of contingent offer, or like we don't want to try to go and lease it up during due diligence. And we even told them in the offer, like, what's the word? Um, if we don't find a tenant that matches these criteria, then we can just back out of the deal. So they're entertaining it in the form of like asking questions. So I wouldn't say they're completely unmotivated, right?
Yeah. I'm not disagreeing with that either. The reason why I asked that is, again, I'm not high and mighty or better than anybody else. Nobody's ever asked me those questions before. Like when I'm making an offer on something, I think one, it comes down to your relationship with your broker and who is actually submitting the offer, number one. That means if you got a guy that you run with or whoever, is it maybe Adam? I don't mean, I could be wrong.
No, no, I don't know Adam, but
Adam Morris, I'm thinking.
oh no, not
Okay.
him. It's
Okay.
yeah, never mind. It's some guy here in Birmingham, but he's
Well, it doesn't matter. That's fine. Whatever. It
yeah, yeah.
doesn't matter. All I'm saying is that, you're up in Chicago, you're looking at a site. If some guy is not wanting to respond to you or he's not like he's feeling off or whatever, that doesn't feel like a great relationship with your broker out of the gate. I just have never had that response from a seller when I said, "Hey, I'm making an offer on a building." I've never, again, I'm not saying I'm high and mighty. I'm just saying that no seller has ever responded back and been like, "Well, show me, I need proof of funds or I need this or I need that." Because now we just tell them to kick rocks. I don't need you. This is my town. I'll go find the next site and I'll go pay somebody else. You know,
Yeah.
just having like oozing confidence, not arrogance, but just oozing confidence that like I've got this. This is my town. This is my deal. This is what I do. And if you don't want to do this, buddy, well, then guess what? You're going to lose because somebody else is going to pay you less than what I'm paying you right now. And if you have that kind of like, I would even call it arrogance. I would call it arrogance a little bit, not in like an egotistical arrogance, but it just in like a sophisticated arrogance. That's probably the best way I can describe it. A sophisticated arrogance where you just be like, look, this is what we do. We are seller consultants. We buy buildings exactly like yours. We do X, Y, Z, A, B, C. If you don't want to do this, buddy, it doesn't bother us. Actually, candidly, it gives us, I would much rather hear you say no than yes because then I don't have to waste time with you. And if that's the case, let me go find the next deal. And then at that point, then the person will respond and be like, they're going to actually either call your bluff and tell you to kick rocks, or they're going to come back and say, well, hang on, let's actually discuss this and see if there's really something here.
Mhm.
Am I crazy by saying that?
Oh, yeah, that's a good explanation.
That's the way that I think about it, at least. I say that from a fortunate standpoint of having done some of these deals. And I know that everybody's just trying to get their first one, and that's the game. But once you do a couple of them, I'm telling you, you can shift the dynamic and you can shift the diagram to where it's like, I don't need the deal. You need the deal, Mr. Seller. And if that's the case, then you got to come to my terms. And that's where it gets really cool because that's where you can end up getting really good terms on a deal. And that's where the seller leaves money in the deal and you get good debt with the bank and the whole song and dance.
Yeah,
That's been my experience at least, if that's fair to say.
yeah, that's good.
Does anybody else have an opinion on that or a thought?
Yeah, I know a lot of people
Either way.
see that. Yeah, I know a lot of people see that just out there around the country wherever they are. But yeah, we need to kind of like figure out how to just handle that like quickly and just either go for it or not go for it. And let them just kind of decide if they're actually motivated or not enough to get back with us, that type of thing. So,
I would just say that like hearing somebody say no is a lot better than trying to dance around here maybe. Like, it sounds funny, but like the cliche of Derek Jeter, like the baseball player, he's like, he went over 20 at one point. There's like, Derek, you're over 20. What's the sitch? He's like, man, the more no hits that I get, the closer I am to getting my next knock. Like the more no's you hear, the closer you are to hearing yes. So if we
mhm.
can take that approach and be like, yo, if we don't hit if we hear a no, well then no big deal. That just means that we know if we got to hear 18 no's to hear our first yes, you're gonna get more excited to hear the next no. Because you know you're that much closer to hearing your, you know, that yes that says yes, we'll do the deal. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
In my opinion, in my experience at least.
Yeah.
So anyone else? I mean, again, I don't want to. I don't want to get anything short. I'm just I'm here. I can run some numbers on something. Sounds like you guys are doing just making moves. So happy
Well,
to
we got
happy to.
we sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but we got a new member, Jim, on here for
Is Jim on
something to talk
here?
about.
I was gonna say I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
I actually called Jim today. I'm glad
Yep.
that
Oh,
Jim made
nice.
it. Yeah, hey Jim, how you doing, man?
Hey guys, I'm doing great. Sorry I came in a little late. Had another little meeting with my wife that I had to kind of ran a
Good.
little bit late, but I apologize for coming in late here.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Now, no, man, tell us more about you. It's glad that you made it on this evening. I know that you mentioned you were going to make it on around this time. So tell us your story, where you're at, and a couple other guys in Charlotte. So this is great. This is great news.
Yeah, tremendous. So I'm really excited about joining this stuff. I'm actually here in Charlotte, North Carolina. A little bit of background about myself. I've been in technology, since I graduated a long time ago. My wife and I have actually um, kind of messed around in the real estate for quite some time. I ended up getting a general contractor's license, so I have that here in Charlotte. I don't do a whole lot with it, just kind of some smaller things here and there. Also have a broker's license. Again, don't do a whole lot with that. Got that kind of early on for a couple personal purchases and sales and stuff like that. But my wife is she's actually a commercial appraiser, so that kind of is one of those areas that provides all sorts of interesting perspective in terms of how commercial real estate's valued, the appraisals and stuff that come back, the little levers that you can move up and down. And as I was telling Nolan earlier, one of the big things that just has kind of blown my mind away. I know Nolan, you say this quite often, but just with the residential stuff, it's really just comparing your house with the next three houses right down the street, and just coming up with that same value that a computer can really pop out. And quite often, that's what happens with commercial with residential appraisers. But with commercial appraisers, man, there's all these little levers in there where um, moving up a couple $100,000 million or whatever is so simple from their perspective. I mean, they even have some people calling back in saying, "Hey guys, we were kind of expecting something to be just say we're like 37 million. Is there anything we can do to this?" And again, the little levers that they kind of pull here and there and stuff like that to kind of make it go up there, whether it's adjusting the cap rate a little bit or other little expenses and stuff. And I tell you what, that's what's kind of really energized my wife and I. We have a couple of commercial, some residential type properties that we have as far as investments, but jumping into the commercial stuff, it's kind of no brainer. We're super excited to be on here. Hopefully, I can pull in some of my technology type experience as far as looking up. I know when I was talking to Zane too about this stuff, one of the things that I do a lot of the research and stuff with my wife to help her out and stuff, looking for comps. But you can pull up to find owners, how long someone's owned a property, when it was last time it sold, what kind of what you should be able to kind of see what kind of stuff they have invested into it, and making those phone calls to see what rent per square foot, having those connections with the brokers and things. It's just getting out there, kind of talking to people and asking too. One of the tremendous things about having an appraiser in the family is we have access to not only a lot of stuff within her arena in terms of looking up sales and things that are for sale, but then also the relationships between other brokers and other companies around here. They're all talking to each other. So if you get in with a couple of them, that network can spread very easy.
I love it, man. No,
Yeah,
Jim,
man.
that's great. That's awesome. And I was even saying to Jim this morning, I said, it's almost like a quid pro quo a little bit, where when you hear somebody that's an appraiser that says, "Hey, something's worth 30 million, or even it's 3 million or whatever, we actually need to be valued closer to 4." Well, really, in commercial real estate, again, there's levers that you can push and pull. So residential, it's like, look, there's 10 houses in a cul-de-sac that are all going for 200 grand. That 11th one is just, it's worth 200 grand. There's nothing we can do about it. Commercial, based upon the income, based upon the location, based upon maybe some of the easements, based upon maybe the elevation, the topography. There's a lot more that goes into that commercial property than it would be if it was residential. So that's it makes your wife's job a little bit harder, but hopefully she's making a little more money from that.
Oh, absolutely. But the one of the key things is never be afraid to go back, even after they provide your evaluation. Say, no, no, no. You know what? I think we'd like to be a little bit higher. Or the other thing too is provide them some of your own comps and stuff because they're always trying out there look up to find the stuff. But you have things in your area. You know your property very well. So if you have some things that look like they would actually be very beneficial to you, pass them along to the appraiser when they're doing their stuff because they do appreciate it. They do look at that.
Yes,
Man,
100%. And I don't know if you guys have seen, I'm dealing with eminent domain right now with one of my buildings. And I've heard from a couple other, I spoke with an attorney this morning and they're he's like, eminent domain will end up being the greatest thing that'll happen to you. Get more money than you think. And I'm like, well, Brian, which is like the attorney, I'm like, prove it. Prove it, bud.
Definitely,
You know?
definitely don't ever accept that first offer.
No,
That's just
no,
something they're
it
throwing out
was a
there.
fair
Definitely.
market value, and I'm like, dude, there's like another $280,000 of extra cost that I got to deal with right now. I'm like, you guys can either offer it or I'm going to go to bat. And so,
Yeah.
and this is something that's really funny for everybody. You guys can check this out on the internet. Everyone's heard of a 1031 exchange where you defer your tax and the whole thing. Check out a 1033 exchange, which is if someone takes over your property, the government takes over your property, eminent domain, there are like zero rules on your capital gains tax. You get like 3 years, you get the money at closing versus having to hire a third party, a mediary. Like there's zero rules. And so like if you bought something for 100,000 and then the eminent domain happens and they buy it from you for $1 million, there's 900,000 in capital gains. You actually get that money at closing. Like you get it in your hands and you got like 3 to 5 years. You just go find another place to park it and you don't pay taxes. It is like crazy. Check it out. Just read about it. It's a 1033 exchange. Yeah, it's
That's
really
tremendous.
interesting. Hopefully nobody ever has to deal with that, or maybe it will be positive, but I'm in the midst of dealing with that right now, and I'm like, damn. My attorney's telling me it's supposed to be something that's positive, but we'll see how it really works. Well, who knows? We'll see what happens. So, but Jim, we're very happy to have you, man. We're really excited. Thank you for joining late like this. We've been just kind of chopping it about some of our guys, our members, their deals and everything like that. So it's been great.
That's tremendous. Yeah, thank you. I definitely appreciate it.
yeah, and what also sounds awesome to me is, Jim, if your wife would be cool with it, it'd be awesome to have her like go over some experiences and go over some teachings and stuff that she's had
Oh man,
as a commercial appraiser.
that'd be great, Zane. A great call. We might need to have her on as like just an appraiser and like what she's looking
Yeah.
for and like her opinion and things like
Yeah.
that. It'd be valuable to our team like that.
And
Yeah, definitely.
I'm wondering, Jim, does she do
Maybe she can give me an appraisal for like $55 million on my property.
That's the tricky thing. She sits there and
That'd
says
be
that
nice.
she can't do appraisals for friends and family and obviously
Damn it!
my type of stuff, but she can't really do it that way. She can maybe give you some pointers, but
Okay, all
they
right.
got those strict laws about crossing over various lines there. But
Understood.
no,
That's all right. That's one for
but definitely.
that's all right.
Definitely got some good tips on you. Don't always settle for the first one that comes back because they're trying to meet it within like maybe 5% of whatever kind of sales or whatever that you got out there.
Okay, that's understood. All right, I appreciate your input on
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
55 million would have been nice, but I'll settle.
Nolan, with your eminent domain property, are they taking it or how's that? What does your attorney say?
No,
Because
no. So basically, a couple of weeks ago, I'll spare you guys all the deets, but basically, a couple of years ago, when I bought the property, it backs right up to this Jefferson County, which is in Birmingham. It's like a family court system, whatever. And they offered to buy my building at the time, and I said I'm not interested. They said, well, that's good because we're not interested in buying it. I'm like, all right, well, whatever. And then they called me back about a month and a half ago and said, hey, actually, we are. And here's the appraisal that we did. And I bought it for 320 grand or what. I got to look back at the HUD statement. And then they're offering me 420,000, which which is probably accurate. It actually it's probably right. It's probably the right intrinsic value of the building, right? But the problem is that I'm number one, I'm not motivated to sell. So you got to put a premium on the fact that if you want to buy something from me, you need to purchase it from me for above market rate because I don't have the desire. You know, if I was motivated, I would sell for less than that price, you know, but I'm
Yeah.
not motivated to sell, so that's number one. But also, I have a tenant in there that has 3.5 years left on his triple net lease, which they're obligated to pay me. I just did the math. It's $131,000 over the next year. The principal pay down is 32,000. I mean, I sent a whole email to my banker or to my attorney. $32,000 of principal pay down, and then 5% of appreciation. It's like 60 something thousand dollars of appreciation over the next 5 years or 3 years. So basically what I did was I said, look, guys, I'm not opposed to selling, but you got to pay me what is just fair for what the things that are going on regarding the property. And the thing that made me get really fired up about it was the guy that the county attorney, who's a super nice guy, really nice guy, actually, like sadly a nice guy, because now I'm gonna like go to bat against him. But he was like, look, we really like you. This is great. I'm like, okay, what's the steps? He's like, look, fact is, this is what he said. This is what fired me up. He goes, Nolan, this is our property. He goes, this is our property. This is our building. And you need to tell us, you need to get back with us. Or what he said something like along, but what stood in my mind was like, this is our building. And that's when I was like, you know what, guy? I'm gonna dig my heels in. This is my town. You're not taking this from me. But that was like my first, this sounds a little funny, fishy, but like it was like a weird communism experience where I was like, he just was like, oh, I'm a nice guy, until he's like, yeah, this is ours. We'll just take it from you because we want to take it from you. And they have the right. I've been studying it the whole last week. If you study the eminent domain, which you don't probably, hopefully none of you guys ever have to experience it. If you study it, it's in the Constitution. It's the Fifth Amendment.
No, my in-laws went through it.
It is the Fifth Amendment in the Constitution of the United States. If the government wants your property, now that's being very vague. It has to be towards public use and things like that or whatever. But they have the right to your piece of property. They have to pay you fair market value, but the fair market value is really where it comes, where the water's muddy. And that's where I'm dealing with right now. But the government can take your property.
Yeah. No, my
That's
in-laws
what's-
dealt with it with the easement of their home
Yep,
because
the whole thing. Yep.
the electrician the company wanted to put new poles. So their first offer was 18,000. So like that's a lot of money for your easement, but we started getting into it and I said, you guys need to go get an attorney. So thank goodness that they did, because the attorneys were like, oh, so glad that you called, because it was obviously the whole row down. So they ended up getting $100,000 for their easement.
Awesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it did nothing to their property. It's just literally where the sidewalk is.
And on top of that too is the government's money. It sounds funny to say, it's not their money. So they're spending someone else's money, and they're all on salary, which I'm not knocking anybody that's on salary on this call. I'm just saying that anybody that's on salary like that, the government is spending someone else's money. They're not trying to nickel and dime. So but the thing is, like me as a business owner, I got to service debt on this building. I got to make sure that I pay my contractors. Like we've improved this property, like the whole thing. So it's just it's new information to me, but it's also when we get this one done across the way, I'm like, maybe I need to learn more about how eminent domain works to see like, how this plays out for the investor and how it plays out for the city. Maybe it can benefit for me. I don't know. I have no idea. So I'm
Did your attorney advise to, I guess, ask for just an outlandish number?
Well,
They came back with 400. You come back with $1 million.
Yeah, good point. So I spoke with him this morning, and he was on vacation last week. Otherwise, I spoke with him. But I made an offer back last 2 weeks ago, and he actually represents Jefferson County for some other things. He's like, I gotta work on my toes. I'm like, Brian, just be fucking real with me for a second. Like, let's just talk about this. And he goes, I said, look, this is where I'm at. Does this make sense or does this not make sense? He goes, swing for the fence, hit a home run, don't hit a grand slam. He's like, do not, don't, don't hit a 500-foot home run, hit a 380-foot home run. He's
Okay,
a
that's
baseball
good
guy.
advice.
I'm a baseball guy, so we kind of regulated with that. He's like, make instead of you offering 700,000 on this building that's really worth it, he said 420, try and get like $642,000 out of him. Don't get 790 out of him. He goes, because then I can actually go to bat for you for that. But if you're
Yeah.
asking for all that stuff, then they will actually do eminent domain, because right now we're just negotiating prior to eminent domain. Eminent domain is actually like a core. It's like doing you go to arbitration basically.
Do you know if any other properties around the area or they're trying to acquire those
Well,
too?
I'm on the hook. I'm working them. I'm trying to find them right now. I'm trying to buy them. Yeah. Yeah. The next door neighbor to me is he's an older cat and he doesn't have any desire to sell, but I'm like, dude, you're lost, buddy. It's coming, buddy. Welcome to
Yeah.
you know.
The,
So
the other thing when they do actually appraisals and stuff, there's multiple ways, multiple different methods. I mean, it sounds like they're just like a cost appraisal, just the cost of the building, but then they also have other ones that take into fact what your how long your lease is, because obviously something that has like a 10-year lease is going to be much more valuable than something with just like a 3 or 2-year lease left, because that's where all the money is and that stability. So you can also request an MAI, which is a basically like the master, someone that has a higher level of degree in it, in terms of having that type of appraiser come back and look at it. And that type of person,
what is MI, Jim?
it's what does it stand for? Like master appraiser. Um,
Understood.
I think that's just the higher level. It's almost like having a master's degree in something else. It's basically like the master's degree in appraising. And
Understood.
they have specifically those that are sitting out there, and those are typically ones that have been in the business longer. They know how to do the different methods of appraising a property, and who knows who's appraising this one for the county or state. And again, you could even go back out and get your own appraisal done. Find some big
Right.
firm out there, and they can do it very easy. I mean, it might cost you like 4,000, maybe $5,000, depending on the size of your building and stuff like that. But that way they're kind of working for you instead of just having the government, provide whatever one they kind of picked off the street. And that way you can again have them take into account the leases, all the other information, how the truer value of what the property is, rather than just the cost approach.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. They even said, hey, you can do you can go hire your own appraiser. And I'm like, well, isn't that kind of the most comical aspect of it? Like, why doesn't the government just go and I mean, it sounds silly to say this, but why don't they just go on the entire the world and the entire United States? You just start like saying eminent domain, they can own the whole thing. And just like saying, hey, well, this is our town. Like we can do whatever we want. We can start making it, public use. I mean, I don't know. It was bizarre to me. It felt weird, and I'm back in. It makes me more of a capitalist now because maybe whether you are political or not, that's not the point. Whoever it is, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I was like, wow, I'm experiencing somebody taking something from me that I worked hard to earn, and somebody that on the phone was just like, well, matter of fact, this is ours. That's how I was like, damn. I hadn't experienced somebody just saying that when I worked hard to achieve that something,
Mm-hmm.
and I hope nobody ever experiences that. It was a very surreal moment, but it makes me bullish on the upside of studying this idea, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. It's just weird, I guess. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just bizarre. But
Yeah.
whatever. Well, okay, well let's do this, guys. I gotta make a move. I don't want to cut out too early, but I appreciate everybody making it on tonight. Again, Jim, it's great to have you on this evening. Great to have you a part of our team. Most importantly, everyone, if you don't mind, update your profile on school with like, just like your name, maybe even your email and your phone. And then let's just try and all like just because again, we have a couple of members that are even in Charlotte right now that are like doing deals right now. One member's in Charlotte. He's got a deal. Another member is there. He just joined it. He's bringing the money. Zane can tell you about it. I mean, it's just cool. And I think that the way that we can all really come together is if everybody has transparency on like how to get it in control of each or in contact with each other. And I think it would just be really beneficial that way. So Zane, do you have any kind of closing thoughts before you get out of here?
Yeah, I agree. Some of the profiles on there, I should probably get with those people and just say, hey, like make it look a little better. But if
Yeah.
you want to network, put your phone number, email, and
Yeah.
where you are located.
Right.
So that's kind of like an invitation, like, hey, hit me up, or yeah, anything like that. And then you can go and hit up other people who have their phone number and emails and stuff like that, of course.
Yeah. I think it's great. I think it's awesome. Cool. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for making it tonight. We'll see you guys next. I guess it's next Thursday, I believe. And
Mhm.
then, but anything you guys have on the out, let us know. Let Zane and I. We'll be on standby and holler at us. But we are ready to partner and do business. All right, bring it on. All right, everyone. Thanks, guys. Talk to you guys soon.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Todd.
See ya.
Thank you.